joining us on the news night to analyze Trump's threat of military action in Nigeria, a development that has sparked controversy and raised concerns about the potential consequences of military intervention. And President Tinubu's proposed meeting with Trump is the director, Buratai Center for Contemporary Security Affairs, Ibenedion University, Professor Femi Olufunmilade. Glad to have you join us, Prof.
I'm pleased to be here.
Good. Trump says he's... let's even start this way. What do you make of the communication we're hearing that Trump and the president could meet either in the State House or White House? What do you make of that?
Well, I think that doesn't answer our immediate concerns at the moment. The Trump administration has made it clear that Nigeria is now a country of special concern.
Particular concern.
Particular concern. And then suddenly we are hearing that they are likely to meet. I don't know when they plan that. So I've not heard that from the White House portal.
All right. Let me then just go to ask you this question. Let's leave that out. He says, I'm talking about Trump, that he's ordered the Pentagon to prepare for possible action in Nigeria. 3 questions. On what plank is Trump hinging this supposed action? 2, what does international law say about this sort of interference in foreign nations' matter? Can he even do this, or is he bluffing?
Well, the United States, pre-Trump, is known for unilateral action, especially in the post-Cold War era. Since the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, the United States has consistently, under various administrations, whether Republican or Democrat, been given to taking actions that offend basic norms of international relations. And so what Trump is saying is in line with that trend in the post-Cold War era. As to whether it's okay from the standpoint of international law, the answer is no. Because the United Nations Charter forbids interference in the domestic affairs of its member nations, of which Nigeria and the United States are inclusive. And it forbids any country interfering on the territory of another member nation militarily. Yeah. And so to that extent, it's really wrong. But again, we've seen the United States over and over setting aside the rules and norms of international relations and taking unilateral action.
Libya, for example.
Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, Panama, and so on and so forth. Vietnam, if you want to wind back. And so we are in a world where powerful nations can get away with like whatever they want to do.
Russia and Ukraine.
Yes.
And even the Israel-Gaza imbroglio.
Yes. International law appears to be there for countries that are fairly weak, that cannot exert their will on other nations. But when you have the power, you can get away with more.
Is it even right to say, again, on what basis, that Nigeria is not doing enough to stem violence against Christians? An accusation Nigeria has repeatedly denied.
Well, the point is we live in a globalized world where you cannot restrict people from other countries from observing what is happening within your territory, especially where we are talking about human lives, yep. Whether they are Christians or Muslims, animists or atheists. The rate at which people get killed in this country is truly concerning, and it's just normal that it should attract global interest. But how the international community go about expressing interest or concern is another thing entirely.
Altogether.
There are ways, for instance, there is a doctrine or principle of responsibility to protect within the United Nations system. In other words, though the United Nations Charter forbids interference in the domestic affairs of member nations, it also recognizes that there can be situations, exceptional circumstances, where the government within a country has lost control or is unable to meet up to its obligations as it should, particularly when it comes to the protection of human lives. And under that principle, the United Nations, through the Security Council, can make a case for military intervention in a country where it is clear that the authorities there can no longer protect the people therein adequately. And once the Security Council gives approval for such an intervention, then you see them calling up for peacekeeping force, and which member nations will contribute, in various measures depending on their capacity. So if Nigeria has indeed reached a point where it can be validly said that the Nigerian state is incapable of protecting its own citizens, the onus is not on President Trump.
Good. That was where I was going to. Who determines when that has reached, and then what action to take? Do you see a semblance here of what he did in the case of South Africa, accusing South Africa falsely of white genocide and land seizures? And if so, is Trump really, what is he trying to achieve with this? I mean, you know that the case of Ramaphosa meeting him and
yes, I remember.
all that, and then playing a
videos
video that
and
was wrong.
Printout of magazines and all that. Well, there is a sort of parallel between both. Before President Trump came out to say what he's saying, I'm sure that if President Tinubu is to meet him today, he may play him series of videos also. And then print out that, see, I know what I'm talking about. But I think the way Nigeria should handle the situation should be our concern more. President Trump is President Trump. We are not going to change him. And he has his own unique style of dealing with other nations. And we just having our own taste of it. And the way to go about it is to keep our house in order.
Yep.
We don't need President Trump to tell us to protect our own citizens. The level of killings in the country
is alarming.
Is alarming.
Makes you think whether we value human lives.
Is alarming every day. And I have advised, even on this platform before, that everybody keeps saying there are not enough boots on the ground, not enough boots on the ground. If there are not enough boots on the ground, what are you doing? I have always been an advocate of what I call civil mobilization for self-defense. This happens where a country doesn't have reserves. A country like Israel, for instance, has a lot of civilians who are military reservists that they can call upon at any time they think the regular forces are overwhelmed. Yeah. But Nigeria doesn't have that. But we have a lot of youthful population that can be mobilized in the various communities that have been identified as vulnerable communities to volunteer themselves for training, basically to secure their community, so that they will be the first line of defense when there are intruders.
Yeah, coming into the
society. So
I
think President Tinubu, now he just swore in new service chiefs. I listened to him. His charge was passionate. It was typical commander-in-chief. He promised to give them everything they need. He said he was using the military language to clear them out. remove them. We want peace. We are tired of it all and all that. He was quite passionate. But beyond that, he needs to think out of the box. The current chief of defense staff, I heard him, he said it, that, look, nobody should think that this job is ours alone. We cannot do it alone. If that is the case, I'm urging President Tinubu, using this platform again, to look into how to help communities that are vulnerable to defend themselves. The nearest military formation can be the training ground for youth volunteers.
Before I let you go, let me just rush in this question because my time is running. Trump said the U.S. will immediately stop all aid and assure assistance to Nigeria and want the government there, I mean government here in Nigeria, to move fast. Now, in 1995, it was $1 to the 3 naira. When I read this story, I basically cried, you know. When would Nigeria and other African countries stop going cap in hand to countries like America, or instead win itself away from the use of the dollar? I mean, for example, Trump used the phrase disgraced country. I mean, how would he refer to Nigeria as
well,
disgraced
President
country?
Trump is used to, I don't think anybody should worry too much about his use of language. Even the same President Trump uses similar verbiage when it comes to even colleagues in the political arena. You hear of him talking of crooked Hillary, crazy Nancy Pelosi, Sleepy Joe, and the rest of that. So it's typical President Trump.
Uncouth with his words.
Yes. So I think Nigeria doesn't really depend on, Nigeria cannot be classified as one of those countries that depend on aid, especially from the United States. I cannot readily put my finger on anything that by way of aid, that without America, Nigeria will not survive. The only thing that I will not gloss over is the World Bank. No, the World Bank.
Okay.
The World Bank is America's institution, and Nigeria goes there to take a lot of loans. Even today I read we are taking another $1 billion. So if Trump is talking about the World Bank, of which Nigeria is also a member, well, that means we are being advised to manage within the available resources, and we are being told that we are getting a lot of returns from tax and other non-oil sources.
So we should be able to,
we should be able to withstand that. And then talking about dollar, I think we should play the role of a leader on this continent. The rest of Africa actually looks up to us. If Nigeria says this is the way to go in terms of exchange, where is the African currency? Where is the ECOWAS? We are supposed to have a West African currency. Nigeria should be proactive. We seem to have lost our leadership role since President Obasanjo left office. The last time Nigeria was really proactive in terms of giving leadership to this continent was when President Obasanjo bowed out in 2007. And it's not, you don't give leadership by being appointed that it's your turn to be ECOWAS chairman or AU chairman. But you give leadership by articulating the interest of this continent, economically, diplomatically, politically, militarily, and saying this is the way to go. In 1975, General Murtala Mohammed played a pivotal role in the liberation of Angola when he went to an OAU conference and delivered a powerful speech, Africa has come of age. And every African country fell in line, contrary to what the United States wanted then.
Yeah.
And then the party that Murtala wanted the whole of Africa to support, which was Agostinho Neto's party, MPLA, that was the one that everybody supported. And that party produced the first indigenous administration of that country. Right. Whereas the United States wanted Jonas Savimbi's UNITA. So that is the kind of thing. When United States abandoned leadership in Liberia, a Liberia that has historical ties and cultural ties with the United States itself,
Yeah.
Nigeria stepped in. We created ECOMOG, and we were able to stabilize that country. We did it in Sierra Leone and other. When it comes to the aspect of economy, we seem to develop cold feet, and the economy determines everything. Nigeria should move beyond politics on the continent, diplomacy on the continent, to focus on the economy. How can we win economic independence? How can we promote intra-African trade?
Yep.
That is key. Most of the African countries, their best trading partners used to be their former colonial masters, and lately China. That ought not to be so. We need to promote intra-African trade by ensuring that we make exchange of goods and services seamless without having to denominate anything in dollar. And I think Afreximbank, under Professor, the outgone President, Professor Orama, did a lot. President Tinubu is an economic person, a financial person.
So you should start toying that.
He should touch economic diplomacy. Look, I wrote the policy paper of the APC in 2014.
All right.
On economic diplomacy, foreign policy of the APC. I was there then, and I said it should be economic diplomacy. I articulated it. Let them just get that
and
paper.
work on it.
And work on it.
I'm going to stop you
That's
there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The Director of Buratai Center for Contemporary Security Affairs, Igbinedion University, Professor Femi Olufunmilade. Thank you for being on the program.
My pleasure.